What most people don't understand is that all fiat currency eventually goes to zero.
Is there an example throughout history of a fiat currency, a piece of paper that's unbacked by anything, surviving?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no. And here's why. When Addison Wiggin took over at the Daily Record, when they got cranked up, Bill Warner asked him to catalog all of the fiat currencies throughout history and what happened to each of them. Addison dutifully went to work. Within a short period of time, he had gone through the alphabet. All the fiat currencies that started with the letter A were done. They all went to zero. He was halfway through the letter B, and all the fiat currencies that started with the letter B, and there were 600 of them in just the first letter and a half of the alphabet, and every single one of them went to zero. Every one. 600 fiat currencies that start with the letter A, and half of the ones that start with the letter B are 600 of these things. Not one ever came close. Would you think this one, the United States dollar, is going to be the first one after all that? I don't think so. No. No currency, fiat currency has ever survived. None.
The thing about money is there actually is a fairly well accepted definition of what money is. The question is, as you apply that definition to particular things that people claim to be money, do they fit the definition? We'll just take the paper dollar, for example. How well does it perform those functions? Well, store of value. The dollar has lost 95% of its purchasing power since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. So not very good as a store of value. One of the things I do is just a way to get the audience's attention is I have a slide, and there are three pictures on the slide. One is a pile of monopoly money. The other one is a pile of Federal Reserve notes, what Americans would call paper money. The other one is a solid gold American Eagle 1 ounce coin. And the title of the slide is, which of these is not like the other? And if you know the show Sesame Street, or you have children who watch it, it's one of the favorite vignettes in Sesame Street. And what it really is a kind of IQ test for 5-year-olds. They're supposed to look at the three things and look at characteristics and find the one that's not like the other. Well, I've shown this slide to groups of Ivy League University professors, and I've also shown it to children, kind of 5 years old, my nieces and nephews and so forth. And when the professors look at it, they say, well, clearly the dollars are not like the others, because gold has no role as money, and monopoly money is junk, and the American dollar is a store of value, so that's not like the other. But the children look at it and they say, well, the gold coin is not like the other, because the other two are just piles of paper, and the gold coin is clearly something different. So my question to the audience is, who's smarter, a 5-year-old or an Ivy League professor?
What most people don't realize is that money is an illusion, meaning it's a faith-based system with no monetary backing whatsoever. Ever since we came off the gold standard, there's nothing behind this printed fiat currency that we value as a store of value today. So my question is, in these changing world times, what is a safe investment vehicle? What is a store of value? And this brings up the conversation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So let's take a quick look at what currency is. So we're saying fiat currency. So looking at this, these are the criterias listed below that would make something fiat currency. It's a medium of exchange, a unit of account, it's portable, you can move it around, divisible, which is capable of being divided, it's fungible, which essentially means interchangeable. Now, money meets all of this criteria, except money is also a store of value. So if we look over the ages, we look over the past several decades, and the value of a dollar has lost 95% of its purchasing power. Obviously, we don't have a safe store of value here, because what we're seeing is that you can create however many dollars that you want to create. You can pump all this liquidity into the market because there's no monetary backing, which is where the markets can be manipulated on so many different levels. Looking into the post-COVID era with all these PPP loans, EIDL, stimulus checks, government handouts across the board, right? Just tons of money just being printed with no backing whatsoever. We see some of these smart financial minds that are starting to pull that liquidity, create a suction cup, right? And park it into these different commodities and assets that they see can be hedged against inflation. Because at the end of the day, the value of a dollar is going down. All fiat currency eventually goes to zero. Let's think about it like this. If your grandparents retired in, let's say, 1972, what does that retirement or what does that savings account look like today? Now, I'm not going to dive in and do some deep-rooted math with this, but we can probably both agree that it's not going to amount to much, right? It's going to be some pennies here and some nickels there, right? Because back then, 10 cents would probably get you a gallon of gas, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't line up. So where we're going with this is this fiat currency, this system, it's broken, right? Which is where cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Bitcoin technology really fill in this gap. Because Bitcoin is immutable. It can't be replicated. There's a limited number of these nodes in existence. And after that, there's no more that can be created. So the million-dollar question is this. Where do you feel that your hard-earned money is going to be positioned in the best possible place that it can be? Do you feel comfortable parking your US dollars in a savings account? You feel safe trusting an institution to park it in some stocks and bonds? Or are we looking into the value that Bitcoin provides, seeing this literally, as some people call it, it could be considered a weapon, where these huge hedge fund manager and billion-dollar CEOs in some cases have pulled out their entire accounts and dumped it into Bitcoin. In times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists.